Welcome! Today on your Daily Dose of History, we will be learning about how American Indians and early settlers met their basic needs of food, shelter, and water in the New World. It all started when people from England could no longer stand how English leaders were governing them. These people traveled by ship in harsh conditions for months to escape England's unfair reign. Those that broke off from England's rule were called settlers when they reached what is now known as America.
The first task the settlers did when arriving in the New World was build shelter for them to live in. The area of North America where they landed is modern-day Massachusetts. Massachusetts has cold winters. The settlers landed in November. The shelters they built were simple wooden homes that had gardens to grow the seeds they had brought with them. They brought seeds for vegetables and grains since the weather and growing seasons are different in America than they are in England. The settlers struggled to get their crops to grow successfully. The settlers had also brought animals with them to breed and eat. They were unprepared for the cold winters of Massachusetts. The crops didn't grow properly and they were cold. The first year in North America almost killed the settlers from the cold and lack of food.
While the Native Americans were thriving in this land that the settlers were so new to, they used all of the resources they had in so many ways that helped them to survive. They used the skins of animals for clothing, branches, leaves, and animal fur for their shelters, and used meat, berries, and crops that they grew for food. They also used animal bones for their tools. The women were responsible for working in the fields and did so using various tools made from such materials such as deer antlers. The Native Americans had quite a variety of crops that they grew and harvested. They grew corn, squash, pumpkins, beans, and sunflowers. They also gathered wild foods from around the land such as nuts, berries, and roots. They made their own shelters framed with natural materials such as saplings covered with woven reeds and bark. These shelters would keep them protected from all kinds of extreme weather, usually had a fire burning in the center of it, and possibly kept 16 to 20 family members warm. Having a fire burning at all times also kept the hut dry in the harsh weather.
Unlike the Native Americans, the settlers from Europe were struggling to meet their basic needs. In November of 1620, the Pilgrims arrived at Plymouth Harbor. Upon first arrival, the settlers struggled to survive. Having a survival rate of 50% due to disease and starvation, they quickly realized that they would need help if they were going to survive in this new land. The settlers might not have survived had it not been for the help of friendly Indians, who taught them how to grow native plants such as pumpkin, squash, beans, and corn. Native Americans acted as guides to the early settlers and showed them all the things to know about America. They explained and showed them many new things such as different animals, like moose and chipmunks, and they introduced them to different foods such as avocados and squash and many other new things that they did not have in Europe. Another important thing that the settlers learned from the Indians was how to hunt for food. In Europe, hunting was a sport for the extremely wealthy, and so many Europeans did not know how to hunt. The Indians showed them many ways to hunt and fish to get food to survive. As a result of hunting, they not only gained food, but they also gained furs to trade and make clothes out of. Without the Wampanoag Indians, the settlers would not have survived their first year in the new land, and would have died off, and we wouldn't have the great country we know as America today. They enabled the Pilgrims to survive their first winters, and the Squanto tribe lived with them and acted as their middlemen.
Thanks to the Native Americans, the settlers were blessed with a successful harvest from the crops the two groups planted together. The settlers were so excited and grateful for this plentiful harvest, as well as their survival of their first year in the New World. Because of this, they decided to have a celebration, which is known now as Thanksgiving. This feast happened in autumn of 1621. It lasted 3 days and included dozens of Native Americans and settlers alike. Thanks for joining us in learning about how Native Americans and settlers met their needs and how the first Thanksgiving came about. Subscribe to learn more.